Medical billing, clearinghouses, and electronic data interchange transactions. This is for the University of South Alabama ISC 310 and by Charles Bell. There are reasons to hire a medical billing clearinghouse. They can provide the following purposes: reduce the carbon footprint by removing paper documents, envelopes, and stamps. This will reduce the waste and reduce cost per claim of billing. It will reduce delay in payment. With electronic billing, you can transmit the claim to the insurance company and the claim will be processed much sooner, which means quicker payment. With automation of processes, you no longer need as many people billing claims and processing the checks. With fewer errors, you will receive fewer denied claims during the validation process. By billing electronically, you will receive an estimated paid date, which is the earliest you can bill the secondary insurance. If you bill by paper, you cannot get this date and you must wait for the check. Lastly, the reduction of personnel and computers due to outsourcing means that you no longer need to maintain and purchase that equipment yourself. There are advantages and disadvantages to a clearinghouse. Uh, there are many of them. Some of the advantages are that software is maintained and updated for you, therefore requiring less employees and less stress on you as a provider. All of the updates are performed for the provider automatically, usually during off-peak hours. These these changes can be because of rules or regulation changes and are coded and tested without the provider intervention until the very end when a small batch is done to complete the testing phase and moved into production. All required code changes to the applications are handled for you, and testing is performed prior to the implementation. Um, Fewer scheduled outages due to redundant system operations, around the clock monitoring of systems. Typically, there are 24/7 on call personnel as well as people in the clearinghouses themselves in the server rooms monitoring all the applications to make sure that there are no downtimes. The disadvantages are you have no control of scheduled outages and you have no control of when implementation changes occur, meaning that you have to live by the clearinghouse's schedule for updates. Usually, this doesn't matter to the provider as these are done between 5 p.m. and 8 a.m. on a weekday or sometime during the weekend when most billing does not happen anyway. Also, there are yearly and transaction-based fees. These can range from $10,000 to $30,000 a year for some contracts. Others are just purely transaction-based fees. In either case, with a transaction fee, you can see a fee of 5 cents per claim to 25 cents per claim. And a hospital's billing hundreds of thousands to millions of claims a year. That can rack up to a lot of money really quickly. There are numerous types of EDI transactions. A few of them listed are the 270, 271 for eligibility verification. This just allows the provider to see what benefits the patient has and if there's any money that they can collect up front to reduce the amount of money it costs to obtain any payment later. 276 and 277 is your claim status request and response. These are for checking to see if the payment has been made and just not processed. If there was a denial, so that you can rebuild the claim with corrections, so that the user can, so the provider can get more money than what was originally going to be paid. And then there's also the 278 which is a non-compliant ANSI format, meaning it doesn't meet any specific guidelines and it is proprietary for just United Healthcare's use for admission notification. There are 835 transactions which show payments for batches of claims. It'll show the denied, the contractual adjustments, etc. The 837 I and P, which are your billing submissions to the insurance company stating we provided this service on this date. Here is all the information needed to determine payment according to the patient's benefits. And last but not least is an HL7 transaction, which is used interdepartmentally or between inside the clearinghouse between applications for an automation of a system. These are done in the background. The users typically never know that this ever happened. It is a very specific ANSI format, and we're up to the 7th iteration, thus the number 7 in the name. The 276 is the EDI transaction I chose for this presentation. It's very simple. The very top of the claim, you can see the ST276, which denotes it as a claim status request. The 0046 is the batch number, or the number of claims inside of this batch. This is the 46th. The first NM segment on the left-hand column shows the rendering provider, meaning who actually provided the services. If it's a clinic under a hospital or an ER doctor, that would be where this information goes for them. And then below that are the NM1 segments for provider, meaning USA Hospitals is providing this instead of the USA Clinic at the college, or Dr. John Doe, who is providing the service. There are 3 types of NM1 1P segments. There's a tax ID, an NPI number, and a provider number. The standard is the NPI, or National Provider Identifier number. This is the HIPAA compliant message. Some insurances such as Aetna still require the provider number to be submitted and have received the OK from HIPAA for this to happen. Other information that's required, under HL4 you can see the DMG, or the demographics for the patient, the date of birth, gender, name, and the policy number of their insurance. This has to be correct, or you won't receive a 277 response with valid information. The third line from the bottom, the amount field. If the dollar amount does not match exactly, if this claim was actually billed for $28.14, we would not receive a valid 277 showing payment or denied. We would receive a notification the claim was not found. And then finally, the SE segment, showing how many segments were above the final line of the transaction, and the batch number found in the ST segment. The only difference between a subscriber and a dependent transaction is the HL5 message on the right hand column shows the demographics for the patient. The HL4 message shows the subscriber's information. All the information provided on this screen is in a non-PHI HIPAA format. This is due to privacy regulations. The 277 shows the payment and denial of a claim. Just as with the claim shown in the 276, the 277 has specific data to denote what type of transaction it is. Again, the ST segment at the top has a message type, this time being a 277 for claim status response. The NM1 segments mirror what they were in the 276. In the left column, you'll see an STC segment showing F165. This is the overall status stating that the claim has been paid. In the column on the right, the middle STC shows a P1, meaning it has a pending payment, and the bottom STC shows an F2, meaning a denied payment. There are numerous types of payments, or numerous types of reason codes and payment codes. The F1 being the paid, an F0 is an overall paid with no further identifying information. An A4 is the claim is not found. A 35 would be entity not found. 65 is the contract was processed according to benefit options. I believe a 20 is that the contract was paid according to the hospital's contractual obligations. Again, the bottom STC differs from the rest in that you can see the billed amount being 300 and the paid amount being 0. Last but not least, with this transaction, you can see that the bottom segment shows there were 38 segments higher than it. Not every line is indicative of a segment. Some are subsegments and don't get counted. Again, the very last is the 0002, showing the batch number for what claim this is. The difference between a 277 and most other transactions, you can see, is that you can have line item payments and denies. You can have an overall payment and denied, and they can still show you 4 or 5 claims that were billed for the same date of service that were billed by the doctor and the hospital or a special clinic. It just varies, and you have to be able to determine which claim belongs specifically to the one you're looking at. Uh, in conclusion, clearinghouses are very expensive, but the costs definitely outweigh the negatives. Uh, for most corporations, the idea of totally being in control of your aspect in every aspect of your corporation may be appealing, but it may not be financially feasible. The year-round 24/7 support you receive from the clearinghouse and the security that someone else will make sure that the requirements are met is well worth the yearly cost for this service. The definite security in that the IT at the clearinghouse maintains a fully functional, always up system is definitely peace at heart for many people that worry that their systems are going to go down and they're not able to bill their claims for days or, God help them, weeks, which could end up with financial ruin. Lastly, EDI transactions are very robust, and each of them provide a unique service. The flexibility that they allow for each type of need to be met is great, as well as some are compliant and some are not, but each of them are legal. You can have proprietary formats, which the 278 is a non-compliant ANSI format, but it is still HIPAA legal. Thank you for your time.